I didn't realize it was coming to me quite that fast. I was still legit boogie mode, as was TJ. Hey, welcome to it. Ladies and gentlemen, you know the drill. It is crunch time. We're going to take you up to lock. If you got some questions, we might take you through lock. We're going to give you some weather. We're going to give you some pitchers. We're going to give you some hitters, some home run calls, and we're going to answer your questions. All of it for free. With two of the sharpest minds in the biz, we got my guy John Breslin, a.k.a. Squirrel in the house. What up?
Yeah, little four-game slate here. Got some weather excitement, so good to have you
here. Yeah, we'll dive into that in just a bit. We got TJ in the house as well. What up, TJ?
Doing well, ready to dive in. We got a surprisingly good amount of hitting. Good amount of hitting too, but good amount of pitching on this four-game slate. So looking forward to diving into it.
I know. I think you mentioned pre-show you might be fading the number one pitcher.
That's the plan right now. 60% is a lot of ownership, especially when there's some weather issues. So I'm going currently with the X button on Pablo Lopez, which is my big stand for my 150 lineups.
You crazy, TJ, but we like it. So let's talk about the weather. Minnesota's the only game with any chance for rain. Early this morning, it looked like they were going to get a lot of storms. Now, the storms have actually formed just south of where models were showing. So they're just south of the ballpark. They will mostly stay just south of the ballpark. But there's this little batch. There's just this little spotty showers and storms that could end up going over. I think if you're planning on playing pitchers, you just stick with it. And you kind of hope either they miss, which is totally possible, they fade away, or they go over and it's either light enough or fast enough that it doesn't ruin pitchers. So I don't think you get off the number one pitcher for this, but I do think you have to keep in mind there is that chance that it goes south. TJ, you don't care because you're not playing them.
Yeah, exactly. I do still think you probably play him in cash games today. And you just don't worry about that. It's a hefty amount of ownership. Even if it goes sideways, everybody in cash is going to be playing him. So I do think you're probably still going with Lopez in cash games today. And he is like the number one point per dollar, number one probably overall pitcher on the slate. It's just, it's baseball. And there are other good pitchers as well. And so that's why in MME format, I'm going without him today.
Yeah, if you can fade the chalky, he will be the chalkiest play on the whole slate, right? He's the number one owned pitcher, and no hitter's going to come that close. It's baseball. I feel like that's always a perfectly viable option. Squirrel, are you cool with that weather report? Or you all right just rolling the dice?
Yeah, I don't know. I do think it's a day where there's a couple of pitchers. There's only 6 teams, 8 teams on the slate, and. So it is like the top hitting kind of differentiates itself. The top pitching differentiates itself, and it's just a question of do you want to go with that or not? And so I think Pablo Lopez is going to be one of the popular pitchers. And I think my mindset is maybe honestly like this: I don't want to go with the most popular pitcher anyway. Similar to what TJ is doing. Okay. So yeah, I think it's fine to skip over Pablo Lopez if you don't want to worry about the rate.
Interesting. Okay, that's good to hear. Maryi Donyeezy, this is what I was about to mention. He says, is this only a delay or is this a postponement possible? I can't really see a way in which it gets postponed. Anything is possible, but Minnesota's pretty good about the weather. They know that they basically have this window with just this little shower in the way. They just need to play. So I think the game will play. I think hitters are fine. I would not worry about them. With that out of the way, that is the only, I think that's the only note. There may have been, I'm checking to see which slate the other game is on that I want to talk about. Nope, that's on the night slate, so we will ignore that. Let's talk about the pitchers. And TJ, we already kind of got your immediate lean. You are fading Pablo Lopez, but what else are you doing?
Yeah, so Pablo Lopez and Michael King are the two clear top pitching options today. I think if you're playing cash games, you're trying to jam in both of them. I made a little bit of a shell lineup, and I still got Royce Lewis, Fernando Tatis, and there's enough cheap bats on the slate to make the rest of my lineup look good. So I'm not playing cash, but I still do think that's what you're doing, the Michael King and Pablo Lopez combo. They're each going to be close to 50% owned. King a little closer to 50. Pablo Lopez, we're projecting a little closer to 60. I'm currently going 0 Pablo Lopez and 90% Michael King. That's how I'm handling this today. I'm going heavily overweight on the one, and I'm using the ownership by completely fading the other one. I'll be around even on. Hello, Shadow makes a cameo. Apologies if you can hear him. Logan Webb, Framber Valdez, Chris Bassett. I'll be about even on all three of them. Maybe a little over, closer to 30% on each of them. And then because I have all that extra ownership from fading Lopez and all these cheap guys who aren't in very good spots, Gomberg, Myers, Harris, but they're all projecting for around 5% ownership, I'm able to get about double on the field of each of them, getting about 10% of each of them.
Is there anyone you're not playing?
Just Lopez.
Okay. Wow. The only guy you're not playing is the guy that you're playing.
Yeah, there's only 8 pitchers, and so with him being so heavily owned, if I fade him, it just allows me to get overweight on literally everyone else.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Squirrel, I want your takes on pitching as well. You mentioned you would also be at least considering the Pablo Lopez fade.
Yeah, I think that's definitely reasonable, and especially like if you're doing one lineup, like you don't have to play Pablo Lopez. There's no rule that says you have to play him. He is like there are two stand-up pitchers, Michael King, Pablo Lopez. You can just you can say like, well, I don't want to worry about this rain, and so I'm not going to play Pablo Lopez. I'm going to play Michael King. Like Logan Webb is not in like that much worse of a spot. He's pitching in San Francisco. It's one of the best pitchers parks in the majors. He's a good pitcher. So I think you could just like put Logan Webb instead of Pablo Lopez. Like the difference in their projections is like not that high. Like it's going to be higher. I think the ownership difference is going to be higher, right, than the actual possibility of like Logan Webb outscoring Pablo Lopez. Like Logan Webb could outscore Pablo Lopez all the time on the slate, particularly with the rain. Like if that's going to be an issue. So I think like Logan Webb is my like third pitcher. After that, it's probably like Framber Valdez and Chris Bassett about equally. I do like the Milwaukee stack maybe a little bit more than I like playing Chris Bassett. But if you don't like, you're not playing a Milwaukee stack, then yeah, absolutely you can play Chris Bassett. Again, there's just not like so many games and so many options. There's no like unbelievable ace. There's like some good pitchers.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Let's flip it around. Talk about some of the bats and some of the stacks. And you mentioned you like Minnesota, right? And they are projected.
The one that I mentioned.
Sorry.
But I think Minnesota's got the highest implied run total of the day, so I think they're going to see some ownership. I think Toronto probably is right behind them. I think the other teams that are looking pretty good, like in the top half of the 8, are Milwaukee and San Diego. So like I would maybe focus more on like Milwaukee and San Diego. Those are the guys that I kind of ended up tagging from Milwaukee and San Diego. Hurts Brewers a little bit. Rhys Hoskins is out of the lineup. So it doesn't help, but he's still, there's still plenty of good hitters there. Christian Yelich is, definitely one of the top hitting options on the slate. And yeah, San Diego as well. San Diego has this thing where like their lineup's not going to be out in time. And that actually, I feel like that still hurts ownership, even though
you love that. You love when that happens. That's something exactly. I feel like you always target.
Yeah. Because like, I don't know, I do it myself. I'll look at try to evaluate like 2 third basemen. I'm like, well, Machado might not end up in the lineup, so like maybe I'm going to go with the other guy. No, like Machado will probably be in the lineup. If not, you may even have time to swap depending on like who you're trying to swap to. So, yeah, I like the idea of going like with San Diego. I think they'll see a little bit lower ownership in their chances of success.
Okay, very good. Is there chalk? Is there like a chalk stack, Squirrel?
I think it's probably Minnesota or Toronto.
Okay.
There are a lot of chalk players. Not a lot of like super chalk stack, but I agree. Minnesota, then Toronto will be 1 and 2.
Okay, very good. There are some metrics on the screen that I am not even familiar with this. We may need Devin to break this down. Simulated cash lines for the slate. Devin, what are you showing us?
This is MLB SimLabs. For each of the slates, you can see over on the right side optimal rates for pitcher as well as individual stacks. And it looks like Minnesota is, even though it is chalky, it looks like SimLabs likes it for optimal rates. So some takeaways here just as we scan through this premium product.
Yeah.
And that is a really good point by SimLabs, because what I will say, that's what I meant about chalky players, but not stacks.
Mm-hmm.
So Minnesota today has Byron Buxton at 37% projected ownership, Carlos Correa 36, Royce Lewis 28, Miranda 27. But you can also get Willie Castro batting 8th, projected for 4%. Carlos Santana batting 6th, projected for 7.5%. Vasquez, the catcher, at 9.5%. So the entire stack is not actually that highly owned, depending on how you format it. It
Right.
only is if you're stacking like 1 through 5.
Interesting. Okay. We should note you just saw SimLabs. It's pretty fantastic. Did I do it wrong? Is it SimLabs or
Nope, you nailed it. You nailed it.
Yes. I always call it Sims Lab, so I'm glad I got it right. Hey, there has never been a better time to sign up for RotoGrinders Premium, by the way. You can get tools just like that. We have an option for whatever level you're looking for. 6-month combo subscription, exclusive price $469.99. That is a savings of $250 as opposed to buying 6 individual months of combo premium. You can also get your first month of RG Premium $40 off for a limited time. And if you just want to check things out, if you just want to peruse, see what's going on, a 3-day pass is $19.99. And that to me seems like a really good deal to get a better understanding of what we have and what we can offer. $19.99. Literally, I can't even get lunch for $19.99 these days. Everything's going up in price, but you can still get 3 days of premium for $19.99. That's fantastic.
My first job, and I'm not very old. I'm only 30. My first job when I was 16 was McDonald's. And when I worked there, a double cheeseburger was $1.39. And it was 99 cents in the States at that time. It was only $1.39 here because of the price difference. We like the Grubhub or whatever that we use here. It's called Skip the Dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like a double cheeseburger is $4.99 at McDonald's now.
It's
absolutely it's ridiculous. Like
I can't eat out. I can't eat out anymore. I can't even go to fast food because even the fast food, a freaking hash brown at McDonald's is like $2.50. How did that happen? What happened? Oh man, that's well said. Yeah, it's crazy. All right. You have any other takes on stacks? I'm sorry, you got me distracted.
I'm on a very much the same page as Squirrel today. I love that the San Diego lineup's not out yet. I'm trying to get overweight on them. They're my highest owned stack today, with Milwaukee number 2, Minnesota 3, Toronto 4, Houston 5, Oakland 6, Colorado 7, and I'm actually not playing any San Francisco today. The way Squirrel I feel basically exactly the same that Squirrel feels about everything, except how he talked about Logan Webb. That's how I feel about Framber Valdez today. He's my big my highest owned SP2 to go with Michael King. But exact same page there for stacks. San Diego 1, Milwaukee 2 for tournaments. Minnesota is probably the top overall. I'm just getting a little bit more underweight on them. And then Toronto, I think, is probably the most overowned.
Okay, very good. Let's go around the horn. We'll talk position by position. TJ, you can lead us off with a little catcher talk.
Yeah, so catcher today, it's not great. Luis Camposano is the guy that I'm getting to the most because I want to play a ton of San Diego today. Alejandro Kirk is the cash game option. He's just too cheap. That's who, like $2,900. That's absolutely who you're plugging in cash. It allows you to do the double pay ups with King and Lopez there. Contreras is fine, but I would much rather target the lefties against Chris Bassett than the righties. And so he is the one Milwaukee player I'll probably actually be underweight on, where I'll be overweight to the rest of the team. Langelier is fine. Vasquez in your Minnesota stacks. And then Stallings is actually batting 5th today for Colorado. And I mean, no one's going to be stacking against Pablo Lopez, but I'm going to be doing a little bit of it.
Okay. Squirrel, your thoughts of catcher?
Yeah, I just think I like William Contreras a little bit more than DJ, but I kind of look at it as a position where almost everybody's got the same exact projection. Almost everybody has about the same price, except for William Contreras, who has a much higher price and a much higher projection, at least in terms of like what I'm looking at. So I like Contreras the best. I think like point per dollar, I think it's probably Alejandro Kirk. So like cash games-ish. Yeah, Alejandro Kirk. But everybody else is just about the same, except for Contreras.
Okay. How about first base?
First base. So I think Jose Miranda is probably going to be one of the more popular guys. I think he's like one of the bbest projected, and he's too cheap. So that's always a combination that can lead to high ownership. He's like too cheap on both FanDuel at 2,700 and DraftKings at 3,500 in particular. Some guys like some alternatives. Dan Vogelbach is only 2,900. He's hitting cleanup for Toronto, or you can go with the other Minnesota first baseman Carlos Santana or Jake Bauers.
Great. TJ, your thoughts at first?
Jose Miranda or Daniel Vogelbach are definitely your two sort of cash game options today. Miranda, you're either playing at first or third in cash. It's one of them. I'd play him at first if you're playing Royce Lewis at third. But if you want to go double cheap, then you go Vogelbach here, Miranda at third. Wilmer Flores, even though I'm not playing a full giant stack, I think is interesting as a one-off or as part of a mini stack. Jake Bauers is going to be my favorite here for tournaments. And then Tyler Soderstrom is one of the 2As. I'm willing to stack against Michael King or play against Michael King, even in the same lineup, him and JJ Bleday. And then for what it's worth, I'll throw in there that I have either an A stack or Michael King in every single lineup today. So I have 90% Michael King and then 10% A stacks.
Interesting. Okay, great. How about second base?
Second base, you got recent Jays call up Spencer Horowitz as the top option today. He's only 3K. He's nice and cheap. I prefer him in cash over Davis Schneider, despite Schneider's high ownership. He's all the way up at 4,500. I like playing Schneider better against the lefty. So Horowitz is my top option here. I'm going quite heavily underweight on Davis Schneider. Field has him at 43.5%. I have him at 14%. I'm using that ownership to go overweight on Bryce Terang and Willie Castro, the Minnesota player that's going by far the most under-owned just because he's expensive and also batting near the bottom of the lineup. Getting some Altuve, some Farmer, and then as a cheap punt, I'm also getting to some Adael Amador, the recent call-up number 1 prospect for the Rockies. And then Jake Cronenworth as well, even in the lefty-lefty. I like in my Padres stacks.
Love it. Squirrel, are you interested in Amador here at 2-2?
I do actually. Yeah, he's been kind of a consistent GPP spend down play for me since he just came up a few days ago. I think, or I guess just a few days ago.
Yeah.
Because he is a good prospect, but he hits 9th, but he's also really cheap. So he's not necessarily somebody I want to go crazy with in cash games, but hopefully he starts hitting at some point. It's just unfortunate they've got him in the 9th spot in the order, and then also he's been playing on the road instead of in Colorado so far.
That does hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. So second baseman, it is. I think it's 2 Blue Jays on DraftKings. Davis Schneider, if you really want to spend up. Spencer Horwitz, if you want to spend down and save money. So Horwitz probably the better point per dollar play. I should have noted that he's a first baseman on FanDuel and also very cheap at 2,100. I also really like Bryce Terang. He's leading off the Brewers. He's probably too expensive, but that'll definitely affect his ownership. I think he's an interesting pivot from Davis Schneider, and he's a guy that can rack up stolen bases. So that's kind of always a little bit of a hidden fantasy source of points.
Yeah. I actually played MLB DFS for the first time all season last night, and one of my guys had to swipe the bag. It's 5 points. You get 5 points for a steal?
Yeah, he gets 6 on FanDuel, 5 on DraftKings. And it makes up a good chunk of the it makes up a greater proportion of offensive fantasy scoring on DraftKings than FanDuel, even though it's more points on FanDuel. It's home runs on FanDuel are 18.7. Home runs on DraftKings are 14. So it's more than a third of a home run.
And it's why Ronald Acuna Jr. was smashing so much at the beginning of the season without hitting any home runs. His ISO was 0.01, but he was still great on DraftKings every night because he'd open the game with a single and then steal 2 bags to get to third base.
Yeah, it's what you just said kind of just absolutely exploded my mind. I did not realize that the ratio there is actually greater on DK because of the home run differential. Very interesting stuff. Okay, what do you got at third base?
Sure. Third base, I like Manny Machado. I've got him tagged. I will look dumb if he's not in the lineup, which, you do see more days off, I think, during day games, day game after a night game kind of thing. But he's in the lineup. I actually, just a note on the Padres lineup. I do think Jerkson Profar is probably the guy most likely to sit because I think he left the game last night with a knee injury. And it's not devastating knee injury, but something that they said has been bothering him for a while or whatever. Yeah. So I guess
might give him a day off.
Just in terms of playing the next game as a day game after a night game. But so hopefully, if Profar is maybe sitting, that gives him a little bit less leeway to sit some of the other guys. So hopefully Machado's in the lineup. Yeah, like we mentioned at first base, I think Jose Miranda is an excellent point per dollar play. Royce Lewis is another good hitting option, but he is super expensive at 6,000. That'll keep his ownership somewhat down, but I think that just might be too bright. That's like Ohtani and Aaron Judge levels. And I'm not sure I'm ready to like put him in that category, although yeah, he's been hitting well. And then other options, I don't mind the idea of like playing like Ryan McMahon, Colorado. Like he's one of their better hitters, hit a home run last night. And like if you want to like super leverage off the Pablo Lopez ownership, like if you're maybe a rain believing like, oh, it's going to be a delay that like knocks Lopez out of the game, maybe Ryan McMahon's an even better option if the hitters are still okay.
Okay, very good. For what it's worth, I don't think they're going to end up with a delay, but it's close, but I doubt it. I think they're probably going to avoid it. TJ, I know you're disappointed at that.
I'm cheering for the delay. Heavily.
I know. Yeah. Your thoughts at third?
I am getting to a lot of Royce Lewis today. He's definitely not Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani caliber, but on the context of the 4-game slate, I kind of think he is. Yeah. Maybe that hot streak is going to die down, but he's just been absolutely smashing. And I feel like I do have the salary to get to him. I have Lewis, Yelich, and Tatis in kind of like their own tier as top spends today. So Lewis is going to be my highest owned, then Miranda, then Machado, same page with, and Ryan McMahon, same page with what Squirrel said about both of them. I think they're both phenomenal GPP plays today. And then I have a few other guys just only in stacks: Abraham Toro, Alex Bregman, Oliver Dunn.
Okay, great. Take me to short.
Not as crazy strong today as we have been seeing it over the last bit. Carlos Correa is the clear cash game play. Bo Bichette is the one I'd probably want to be a little underweight on. I'd have about 15% Bichette, but I'm even with a field on Correa. Ha-Seong Kim is my favorite pivot off of both of them today. Batting low in the lineup, but honestly, I would bet you if Profar is out today, I bet you we see Ha-Seong Kim in the top 5 of the lineup today. Going up against it's because hold on, sorry, it's still early in the day. I just want to double check before I say something. It is a lefty they're facing, right? Yeah, Hogan Harris. So it's going up against the lefty. Ha-Seong Kim has been smashing them. If there's no Profar, I bet you we see maybe like Solano batting 3rd and then Kim batting 5th today. So I think he's one of the best GPP plays on the entire slate.
Very nice. Okay, Squirrel, your thoughts at short?
Yeah, I think that's good insight on Ha-Seong Kim. He's been hitting pretty well over the last 30 days as well. Like when I look at the fan graphs, last 30 days hitters, he kind of surprisingly shows up in the middle range of the top page, right, in terms of like slugging percentage, home run, stuff like that. I think aside from him, I think Carlos Correa, Bo Bichette, Willie Adames. There's not that many shortstop options. There's only like 8 shortstop options on DraftKings. So it's not necessarily a bad idea to just go with your stack either. But I would say like I've got the top options as Bichette and Adames, but I don't mind the idea of giving Ha-Seong Kim a little bit of a bump up because yeah, he might be hitting higher in the order, and it's probably not reflected in projections.
Okay, very good. How about the outfield? What do we got there, Squirrel?
Sure. So one of the top outfilders that I like is David Schneider, and I think there's actually an interesting thing you could do on DraftKings because Schneider is second base outfield eligible. Horvitz is the cheaper, like more value play at second base, with the same team, but they're hitting 1 and 2 in the lineup. I don't mind the idea if you want like a mini Blue Jay stack or a full Blue Jay stack of using like Horvitz second and Schneider in the outfield. Other outfielders, I like Christian Yelich, Fernando Tatis, Byron Buxton. In terms of like value plays, maybe Austin Slater if he's in that leading off for the Giants in that lineup that just came out that I didn't look at.
Yeah, he is.
And then the French vegan Trey Cabaget.
Nice. Okay, TJ, your thoughts?
We are 3 likes away from the first Spidey bomb, so let's get that up right now. 3 more people smash the like button. All you got to do is take your mouse, give it a little click. If you're watching on your phone, it's more difficult. I admit. It's 2 steps. You got to click hide chat, and then you got to hit the like button. But then you can pull the chat back up. Everything's all good.
And then they get Spidey bombs.
Yeah, and then you get Spidey bombs.
It's
Second one at 50 likes. It's only 50. We got like 200 people watching on YouTube. That should be easy. First Spidey bomb plus 480, and my highest owned outfielder Christian Yelich. Love the lefties against Bassett. Don't really want to play the righties, but the lefties I'm all over. And Christian Yelich is getting pretty low owned today for this being a 4-game slate. So he's my favorite tournament GPP play. And then I love him to hit a home run today as well. Other guys in the outfield I'm getting to, a lot of Fernando Tatis, a lot of Byron Buxton, a lot of JJ Bleday, even in my Michael King lineups. Willie Castro has outfield eligibility as well. Jackson Merrill, lefty in my San Diego stacks because he's going really low owned. And then the back half of this Milwaukee lineup, Frelick, Perkins, Churio, players that people don't want to get to. It seems like the ownership is congregating heavily to the top half of lineups today. So I'll play the second half.
Okay. Very good. The people want some home run calls, and hopefully with that, TJ, we can get them some Spidey bombs. Have they done the task?
We are 5 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 2. So Yelich is the first one. We'll throw it to Squirrel for some nuts first, and then I'm sure they'll have enough likes when we come back.
Some squirrel nuts. What do you got? You got a couple names for me?
Sure. I'll go with a couple of Brewers. How about Jake Bowers and a repeat from yesterday, Willie Adames?
Excellent. TJ, I have faith. They're going to push that button. If we're not there yet, I have faith they will. Give me that second Spidey bomb.
Squirrel took one of mine with Jake Bowers, so I'm going to take one of the plays he called so great today because I agree, and we're going Manny Machado as Spidey Bomb number 2.
Very good. We want to take some questions here. We still have 12 minutes or so until lock. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in. If we run out of questions, we may end the show early. But a quick little shout out. You guys know TJ Moosemanzada, who hangs out in the chat sometimes?
Yeah.
Is that name familiar? Yeah, he's a regular here. Last night, he took down 20K on our advice on Crunch Time. So
heck yeah.
That's some good stuff, man. If you're hanging out with us, good job. If not, we'll probably see him later and we'll give him some congrats then. Let's go to Eric Johnson's question. Squirrel, I'll give this one to you. How many A's? Actually, TJ, you probably have 150. How many A stacks do you have out of 150?
I have every lineup that is not a Michael King lineup is an A stack today. So
10%. He's got
90% King, 10% A, so 15 A stacks.
Yeah. Sorry.
And Eric Johnson knows that. He just wants me to talk about the A's again. Like he already knew the answer to that question.
He just wanted to hear it. Sometimes they got to hear it, man. What else do we have here? ASAP Chargers says Squirrel, who is safe from pinch hit for the Twins once they bring a righty in?
I usually just use like the bat in terms of like pinch hitting. I'll see if there's anybody on Minnesota with like a 30% or higher.
Kyle, without looking at it, I'm going to assume Kyle Farmer and Manuel Margot will get pinch hit for, and then probably Christian Vasquez.
Yeah, I saw Margot get pinch hit for yesterday. Yeah, those are the guys that are the top pinch hit risks, I think.
Okay,
Farmer.
Very good. Okay, DC Chavez says, TJ, can I fade the first game? You've got the highest team total in the first game and the chalkiest pitcher, so that is a bold proclamation.
Yeah, I absolutely think you can because I think Milwaukee and San Diego are pretty darn near equally likely to have a good game as Minnesota.
Okay, very good. See if there's any more QQs. If you've got them, bring them in. I'm scrolling up just a little bit in the YouTube. We got this. We got that. People arguing about food. People arguing about politics. That's not fun.
Argue about food. Don't argue about politics in our chat.
No,
Find another one for that one.
Yeah, right. You know what, guys?
That may be my fault because I was like, inflation.
Inflation,
It's
yeah.
happening everywhere. I'm in Canada. It's not just you guys.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. People always like they'll look for any excuse to start fighting about politics. Thoughts on the Giants? There we go. Eric Johnson says, Squirrel, what are your thoughts on the Giants? You gave this look. Wait, don't answer. Just in your face, you said, I don't really like it. I guess you can do it, but I'm not on it. That's what I thought by your face.
Yeah, no, that's a very good read. Got a great poker face here. But so a lot of doing shows together, right? Like they're fine. I don't love like if you're going off the board, I'd rather go off the board in like a hitter's park or something where it's like, oh, like people might be overlooking this.
Mhm.
Like that, like the Giants just feel like they might be the best team in the pitcher's park. I'd rather play the Giants than Houston, if that makes sense. And so like if you're doing 150, absolutely have some Giants lineups. I think they're just less likely to hit.
Yeah.
I'd rather take a shot on Colorado than San Francisco today.
I think that makes sense because you'd be getting some leverage off of like some Pablo Lopez.
Yeah. Okay. Jumping into the Discord, guys. We have answered all the questions, and while it is fun hanging out with you guys, I think we've done all the things that we came here to do. So I think we can bounce on out a little bit early here on this early slate. So for Squirrel and for TJ and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you later on today. You have been